Pro Tools just made a big announcement. They're fully supporting the Dolby Atmos renderer natively. What does that mean for you as an audio professional? What does that mean for you as a newbie to spatial audio? Let's find out together in this first look video. Come on. All right, guys, so I just installed the latest Pro Tools and we're gonna explore together, find out all the new exciting features in regards to Dolby Atmos mixing. All right, so here we are with the dashboard, and right away I see that they have a Dolby Atmos internal renderer template. So I'm gonna choose that. Name, just gonna leave it alone. File type, wave, sample rate, 48 kilohertz, bit depth 32. Okay, before I do that, let me make sure my audio interface is set up correctly. So in this example, I'll be using the 1, which is the Apogee 1. Cool, so that's fine. And let's go ahead and hit save. I will save that to the desktop. And let's see what comes up. All right, so the first thing that I get is a message saying, binaural monitoring requires live headphone re-renders to be set to binaural. Understood. Headphone re-render settings have been set to binaural. I understood. All right, what this means is basically that when you're using a multi-channel interface, you want the binaural re-render, which is going to be what the headphone experience is going to be for music listeners streaming through a distribution platform like Tidal or Amazon. You want to be able to monitor that in real time with your audio interface. We're going to click OK, and there it is. Wow. All right, so this looks similar to Dolby Render, but not exact. The Dolby Atmos logo looks much bigger. And then monitoring 2.0 and binaural. Cool. All right, so let me explain. I'm using a 2-channel interface right now. I'm using the Apogee 1, and I'll be listening to on headphones in a minute. If you have a multi-channel interface, let's say you have a Focusrite or an Apollo or anything else. If you have a multi-channel interface, then the monitoring options should enable you to monitor beyond 2 channels, up to 8 channels or 16 channels, depending on the configuration of your audio interface. And for monitoring Dolby Atmos in a music studio, you want to have a minimum of 12 channels. A 7-1-4 system comprises of 7 channels in the horizontal plane, a subwoofer, which is the LFE, plus 4 channels in the overheads. And so in this case, since we're using this for YouTube and we're using this for an example, I'm going to switch the monitoring to binaural and leave it like that. All right, next up is I/O. Okay, so on I/O, they added a new tab because you traditionally have input, output, bus, Dolby Atmos, this is new. Insert for hardware inserts, mic preamps for control, and hardware insert delay. All right, so Dolby Atmos, everything's already set by default. And I notice here that the binaural mode is in here, so it's probably not in a separate plugin. However, you can use the external render if you wish to. I don't see a reason why, unless you're going to do specific tasks like converting a Dolby Atmos file to MP4 for playback and QC control on iPhone. But for now, internal renderer, cool. Binaural mode. Okay, so this is where you set the settings for the binaural. I have a different video on that. If you hold Option, you can turn them all off or set them all to near, mid, or far. Let's leave them all off for now. We'll play around with that later if we wish to. Okay, and what's this right here? Trim and down mix. All right, so trim and down mix, again, this was not a feature on the Dolby renderer built into Logic. That was kind of like a disadvantage. You couldn't adjust any of these settings, but I know they added that recently to Studio One, and it's here in Pro Tools. And the way this works is that, for example, if you take a immersive mix and you pan an instrument to the height speakers, let's say you pan a shaker to the height speakers, this is going to crash. Dude, did you guys see that? All right, let me continue explaining. Let's just click this button right here, trim and down mix. If you pan something to the height speakers, let's say a shaker, and you have the right settings and the right balance, if you have the down mix and trim controls to bring the volume down, it's going to bring the volume down when it folds down into stereo or these other multi-channel formats. Now, you might not want that as a music mixer. You might want that if you pan something to the rear, you don't want that to be necessarily trimmed down. So for music mixing, I've noticed that it's best practice to reset these to 0. So I'm going to disable auto. I definitely don't want it to be -9. Go to -0. There is no minus zeros. And over here too, downmix controls, and I've talked about this in my other videos, 5.1 and 5.1x. All right, cool. You want to set this to direct render. I had a client that I delivered an album, and all the songs got rejected by Universal because this was set to default. So it needs to be set to direct render. And then this one, it's not gonna apply. So these are the settings that you guys should use if you're mixing for music, and take a screenshot of that and use that inside of your own setup. Also, you can save presets here. Cool. Let's click OK. All right, good. What else do we have? We have mute, beds and objects. Nothing's going, so you guys aren't gonna see that. And then view, theater, person. And then you can show the object ID, name, binaural mode, and path name. All right, I'm not gonna mess with any of that. There's 2 channel meters here. All right, so we have the renderer. There's also a keyboard shortcut on here on window. You should memorize it. So the first keyboard shortcut you should memorize, apart from save, Control S, is Command equals, which will toggle mix and edit. But now you have Control Command equals, which will toggle the Dolby renderer. Cool. I'm gonna delete everything here that it recommends for me to use. I'm not gonna use that. I'm gonna do my own thing. And I'm gonna get rid of all these other things. Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and import some stems. Okay, so I imported some stems, and these are a lot of stems. Down here is the master file. This is the stereo master, so I'm gonna go ahead and name that stereo reference. Now, it's really important that if you're referencing the stereo mix, if you have the capability of routing this to a different output than the Dolby renderer, do so, especially if your audio interface supports it. And the way you do that is as follows. You go to Setup IO, you go to Output, you enable Aux IO, and then you enable the output for another audio interface or virtual sound card. So since I'm using the Apogee One as my main primary interface, my sound card, I'm gonna select the MacBook Pro speakers or another interface to be able to A/B my immersive mix and the stereo reference. If you don't do this, what's gonna happen is that you're gonna assign this stereo reference to the bed or to a pair of objects, and if you forget to disable the binaural settings, like if you forget to turn them off and they're on mid, then the stereo mix is gonna sound weird. You're gonna think that's how it's supposed to sound, and it's gonna create all kinds of confusions. Otherwise, if you set this to the bed and you have master bus processing there, like EQ, saturation, or dynamics, guess what? Well, the stereo reference is also gonna be processed through your mastering chain. So you want to kind of separate this from your Dolby Atmos mix and be able to toggle it on and off. Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and just mute it for now. And let's check out, what do we have here? We have IO, we have objects, and let's go to inserts. We're not gonna use any inserts. So everything's set to monitor. Let's go ahead and choose option, set the input to no input, the output to no output. And apart from the stereo reference, I'm gonna select all the stems, hold shift option, and then set the output to the bed, 712. Cool, so there it is. All right, let's hit play. And I'm hearing something already coming out of my headphones. So let's check it out. Let's see if we can hear something. Yeah, and I can tell that the binaural settings are on, like it sounds like really spacey. So let's check out what we can do to remedy that. So let's go back here to Dolby Atmos. So everything's set to mid. Let's go ahead and turn everything off. And the only thing I want to do on the bed, oh, okay, perfect. So you can do that. Bed left and right, I'm gonna leave it off. Bed center, I'm gonna set it to near. And then we have left side, right side. I'm gonna set that to mid. Cool. And then rear and tops, I'm gonna set those to far. Cool. All right, let's click OK. And let's play that again. Let's check it out. Cool, so there is no binauralization, there's no spatialization on this because everything's panned to the left and right channels. But as soon as I start panning things into the room, into the sides, into the height speakers or channels, then you're gonna hear the binaural settings. Cool, so it's working. Now, if I choose not to use the bed and I choose an object, you're gonna see that object displayed here in the renderer. So let's go ahead and just write some automation for the sake of demonstration. Okay, and let's check this out. Now that object is 11 and 12. If I want to change the binaural settings on that channel, then I probably have to go to Setup I/O, go to 11 and 12, and set it to mid. Now I wish there was a shortcut, because I can see this being a little bit tedious, having to go back to Setup I/O, change the binaural settings. Dolby had a plugin. I'm wondering if it works. I don't know yet. But there it is. I wish it was kind of built into this surround panel. That would be actually pretty cool if it was. But you know what? I'm not going to judge. I see Dolby Atmos renderer, but I don't see anything about the binaural settings. Yeah, I don't see anything there. So I'm curious actually where you guys are here on the video. I'm going to just create an aux track and go to inserts and hit binaural. Nope. Because maybe it does work. Let's find out. No. So object is 11 and 12. On the plugin, I set it too far and it doesn't do anything, because this is going to be talking to the external renderer, the standalone application, not the native renderer into Pro Tools. So I'm going to kill that track. Unless there's a way that you guys know to change the binaural settings other than going to Setup I/O and having to do it here, please let me know in the comments. Again, this is a first look video. So again, if you guys are new to spatial audio, like, this is awesome. Being able to have the built-in renderer right here and not having to play around with two different applications. Like, it's just plug in a pair of headphones, start mixing, you know, start getting familiar with the software and everything else. All right, cool. Well, I'm not gonna do a full mix. I just wanted to kind of test out the Dolby renderer natively built into Pro Tools. I think this is a really cool upgrade for existing Avid users, existing audio professionals. This is definitely going to change how you configure this with your audio interface, especially if you're using your audio interface to tune your room. Now, what I'm curious about is being able to use hardware inserts for a mix while creating the immersive mix. And that's going to be my next step. I'm going to install this on my main machine with my 714 setup, and I'm going to do a video on that, but that's going to be on a different day. I want to hear your comments below on what your thoughts are about Pro Tools integrating Dolby Atmos renderer natively into the DAW. I also want to hear if you have had any experience with Dolby Atmos or spatial audio. If not, if you're a newbie, I invite you to subscribe, like, and share. There's other videos that I've created here on YouTube on spatial audio and Dolby Atmos mixing. So I really hope this video was beneficial for you guys. Just a quick first look at this amazing upgrade and update by Avid. Thanks again so much for watching. I'll see you guys again real soon. Peace.